course, that's how these technological things work. The last thing that I got was like, yeah, increases in adverse childhood events. Although, like, let me just make sure that, like,
Oh
I'm
yeah, that
back.
you're back. No, no worries.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. I was looking back at the chat and stuff. Where's the Aquarian part of the brain? It's the whole brain, don't we know? I gotta say, while you're setting up, this has been a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed.
I echo the exact same set, like, yeah, and like, I so much appreciate like the extra not only just your expertise, but the extra insight, because, like, again, like, uh I'm so curious about research like this, but, like,
Mhm.
I'm not in the best position to, like, deep dive.
Yeah, it's funny. I always like to reinforce, especially like for lay people that are just kind of outside of academia or just even outside of science and in different parts of academia. Lots of people come into things, especially when it's associated with brain surgery or astrophysics. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a brain surgeon." Um, and act like it's some sort of very like high and inaccessible place to understand and stuff like that. So I think it's number one really valuable to have these sorts of discussions interdisciplinarily, but also I think people really undersell themselves in terms of their understandings of it, because everyone's raised some really great points that I'm sure would have been raised by reviewers, and that I've had these very discussions in my committee meetings that are chaired by people that have been in these fields for 25 years. So the fact that you're having these questions as well means, first of all, they're great questions, and second of all, that we're not in some big high ivory tower where it's like, oh, you wouldn't understand,
Yeah,
darling. Absolutely, you get it, you hit the nail on the head, and we need to be interacting more with people in other disciplines and lay people to make sure that we're being understood appropriately and that we're addressing concerns that are coming from that direction, because a lot of great ideas come from unassuming people.
oh, yeah,
So
like 1,000. So, like, I also think you hit the nail on the head because, like, so, I cover research, and I very often cover research, in my actual field, and every once in a while, just like a chatter or someone from my community, like, who's like totally, like, they're, let's say, for example, studying economics, they will ask like a
mhm.
totally, like, very insightful question that I just, like, has never been on my radar, and it's just like, yeah, it's like mind blowing, and she's like, yeah, like, that's a great question. It's even more great that, like, this is not your area of expertise, and you're asking like a question like this that's like wasn't even on, like, I would have never considered it. That's why it's like,
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
people, that's hopefully able to, like, look at research, and then basically the more eyes, the better, because hopefully the more questions that leads to better research.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think fostering this sort of critical thinking is something that needs to happen more, and why I love Twitch so much for that interactive component. And there's a lot of people that do their own research but don't discuss it with others, and that can be really dangerous. And people are very clever, but people are also very clever. Like there's two sides to that coin. So I think the sweet spot is in the interaction and the open mindedness that comes from just discussion with some ego set aside,
Yeah.
right? And
So I don't want to risk, let's say, cutting off again. So I'll let you sort of wrap up, sort of like what you were saying in terms of, like, yeah, like addiction and adverse childhood events. And then maybe I'll ask. So, and there's maybe a couple of questions in chat, and then I'll stop taking up your time, and also I don't want to disconnect again.
No problem. Really briefly, basically, what I was saying is that early life conditions very much contribute in a disproportionate way, we think, to addiction vulnerability. And I didn't end up talking about this, so luckily, that didn't get cut off. But we think that the mechanism by which early life adversity is increasing addiction propensity is by doing kind of a pseudo sensitization of these areas that's the same as what maybe the drug is doing, perhaps through amygdala related signaling, right? So it may be that the adversity that you experience in life makes it so that, okay, your brain and your body are like, ooh, I'm under threat, my resources aren't reliable, etc. So things that promote survival, things that are rewarding like food, etc., are then, the value of those things becomes even more valuable. If you're super hungry, a crumb is way more valuable than otherwise. So altering that state, especially in a prolonged fashion, will alter the brain and make it so that it's more sensitive to rewards, whether it's something that you do indeed need, or it's something that you don't need, like an addictive substance or behavior, right? So we think that's the mechanism by which early life adversity is potentially changing addiction vulnerability.
Yeah, and, like I would totally. That's something that I'd want to explore, maybe like on a future stream, because like, well, even just like addiction at a large, because like, yeah, there's so much research, and I do have so many questions that now is
Mhm.
not the time given the
Yeah,
instability. But
I'll come back anytime you want.
the one last question from chat is so do you do any research into epigenetics?
So yeah, a little bit. I actually I don't. I have colleagues that I collaborate with that do, and there definitely are some changes that we can measure in qPCR. Specifically, what I've looked at, and it's a very small corner of the epigenetic world, is dopamine receptor related genes or opioid receptor related genes. So OPRM1, et cetera. I don't remember the names of the SNPs and stuff like that, but what you can do is you can see how much they're upregulated or downregulated in the individuals that go through these processes by looking at their brains after they're done, which is another reason why we keep their brains. And we have found some evidence to suggest that dopamine receptors, dopamine type 2 like receptors specifically, seem to be related to this uniquely, and specifically in an area of the brain called the mesolimbic kind of dopamine system, the nucleus accumbens, and the ventral tegmental area. And those areas that tend to be really relevant to addictive behaviors. But that's a very small corner of it. Lots of people do that research. It's not something that I've dabbled in more than that, though.
Right. So yeah, basically, not your primary area of research, but like you've dabbled a little bit into it.
Yeah, and there are people that focus on that. There is research out there that focuses on that. I do not have it fresh enough in my mind to give you a comprehensive rundown, unfortunately, but it's out there, and people are actively investigating this.
Yeah, fair. So yeah, I don't want to gamble any longer, and also I think it's pretty much
Oh,
been almost exactly like 3 hours, so kind of like worked out.
yeah. Woohoo.
But yeah, well, so I want to thank you again. Super appreciative and grateful for you to agreeing to come on, and especially, well, yeah, especially like to go through like research and to provide your insight. Do you want to pretty much give yourself a last shout out, who you are, a little bit of your
Yeah.
background, and also your content?
Yeah, so thank you to the chat for the thoughtful questions and comments and stuff like that. I breezed through a little bit because I couldn't see it on here, and I'll probably watch the VOD back to see what people were saying as we were going through it. So I really appreciate that. I super appreciate this opportunity. It's been my first guest experience on Twitch, and it was an absolute dream. So I hope we do this again. I am a PhD student looking at pain, actually, is what I study now. My previous research was in addiction, and I'm hoping to do postdoctoral research at the intersection of those two things because they're highly related. And yeah, I also stream SciComs in a much more unorganized and chaotic way, a lot less maybe a PG way too. I curse and go off topic a lot, but if you're interested at all, I stream on Fridays and Mondays, though I am about to go to Europe, so there's only a couple of streams left before I leave again for a bit. But yeah,
Uh,
That's the
Perfect. Yeah, I shout you out, and definitely,
thank you.
everyone should follow you, because, like, the more science in the space, the better. The more support for science in the space, the better, and the more conversations, interdisciplinary conversations, better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not gonna gamble any long with my connection. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Super appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Hopefully, we can do it again on pretty much like any topic, or at least any topic that I feel qualified to talk about.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. No.
and yeah, until next time, take care and be well. And well, I guess, well, we'll be in touch.
Yeah. See you later.
All right, take care. 1 second. Whoopsies. Well, I appreciate that, Orange. And that was pretty much my only goal, is learning and education. So if I at least accomplish that as a bare minimum, that's more if I can properly. Even though I'm pretty much, uh, got it here. Don't trust my connection that much more. But yeah, I want to thank Neurolicia for agreeing to come on. And I super enjoyed that. Like I can't say enough as to how much I enjoy that. I enjoy digging into research. And I enjoy digging into research with someone else who is an actual expert on it. And like I said, they can actually provide real, actual insight and expertise. As opposed to myself, as much as I try, I'm not a neuroscientist. And as much as, let's say, I have pretty decent, I think above average knowledge of neuroscience, it pales into comparison to an actual neuroscientist like her, any other neuroscientist. And research like this is super cool, where even though it's like in rodents, as like sort of touched upon, it should ideally, and probably does, have actual applications to humans. Maybe not one-to-one, but totally a lot of useful information and applicable information is extracted from research. And it's just like a cool technique. And it's also just cool just to see like the type of experiments that they run in an attempt to understand human behavior using but yeah, I don't want to gamble with my connection longer. I'm probably gonna look for someone to raid. But in the meantime, thank you, Orange. Hugh, thank you, Globus. Shout out to Globus. One moment. See if I can do that properly. I think we will raid into no other science streamers while streaming. Doesn't look like it. So I think I'm just gonna end the stream here. No raid. And again, I don't trust my connection. But yeah. So thank you again, Orange Hue. Thank you. Thank you, Zeron. Globus. Wow, my chat is cut off, so I can't remember all the other ones. And also thank you. Oh yeah, thank you, Joseph, for passing by for the questions, and thank you for the follow. Thank you, Get a Grip, for the follow, and Risto Rock. Also, thank you. I think you're from Neurolicia's community. So I plan to stream next. Should be on Tuesday, but it's going to be a stream on YouTube. Not going to be a science and research stream because I'm going on a discussion panel for fun. Basically trying to convert someone to be more left-leaning. Basically a political discussion. But I'll be updating the Discord on that. But yeah, until next time, take care, be well, and be kind. And thank you everyone again, and thank you, Neurolicia.